Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. This month is Women's History Month, and in a couple of days it will be International Women's Day. So in this video I thought that I would read some books about women. Now, I could have chosen non-fiction books, I could have chosen Australian history, like women's history and all of that, but I decided to keep it with books that I have on my bookshelf. So I'm trying to get through all the books I haven't read on my bookshelf, and I do in fact have an author on my bookshelf who is a female author, and she writes about women and women's experiences. That book is The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart by Holly Ringland. Now, I believe this book is set in Australia. She's an Australian author as well, and I believe it's about a tragedy associated with domestic abuse, but father to a child abuse. So she goes to live with her grandmother, who she didn't know existed, I believe, on an Australian native flower farm that gives refuge to women who, like Alice, are lost or broken. So I think that this will suit the prompt. And if I get time as well, I also have her book, The Seven Skins of Esther Wilding. I believe this is about a woman whose sister disappeared on a beach, and she is struggling to deal with the loss and everything, and she goes to seek the truth about what happened to her sister, and she sort of travels across Australia trailing her sister a little bit on what she was doing beforehand, I believe it also crosses into fairy tales and everything as she goes along. I think this will be interesting, but I do want to prioritize this one first, so I will start with this one. And I'm actually kind of excited. So I've had this book for probably a year, and I haven't picked it up yet because it's not something I typically read. But I honestly think that I would get a lot from this, and I think this is going to be a really good experience. So at the moment where I live, we're sort of preparing for a cyclone to hit. So I think, honestly, to help me not be as stressed about it, we're prepared, family members are preparing. I think that getting lost in some books while this is happening is probably the best option for me right now. So without further ado, I will get into these books and I will relax, and it will be fantastic. So I will update you when I'm a little bit through this book. So at the moment we're almost right in the cyclone, so if you hear wind in the background, I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can really do about it. Same as the rain, and the lighting is not amazing throughout the house at the moment, so bear with me a little bit. But I have gotten about 6 chapters into The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart, or up to chapter 6 I should say, which is page 61. I'm really enjoying this book. It is very dark and confronting, and I did cry a little bit
at a couple of stages. We're only 5 chapters in. I'm hoping it gets a little bit better from here on out, but I do understand why it's so sad. I'm loving the symbolism of the flowers though. The chapter that I'm up to will be able to show you a bit better. But at the start of every chapter, you've got a plant that the chapter's named after, and you've got the meaning of that plant and where it grows in Australia and how it grows, as well as an illustration of that plant on the side, what it looks like. I'm really enjoying the symbolism of the flowers, and I am fairly sure we haven't gotten into much of that symbolism yet. So she's only just where I'm up to, being picked up by her grandmother to go live with her on her native flower farm. And I just really appreciate it. It's not often that I get to read a book that's set in Australia, and certain things that are said are such Australian things to say, or places that I actually recognize and I can picture in my head. It's just a different experience. I don't read books that are like often that are set in Australia, so I'm really enjoying this in that respect. And I love the poeticness that she's writing with. A lot of books that are written quite poetic get confusing and it's hard for me to concentrate. But this author, she's doing it in such a way that I understand. She's using at the moment, the main character is 9 years old. So she's using certain forms of symbolism of flowers and fire to show what this 9-year-old is thinking. Like, she's living with an abusive father, her and her pregnant mother, and they're going through certain things, and she's explaining certain things that they've experienced through her short life that she's had so far, and just different things that symbolize it, like a book on selkies who shed their skin and they go into the ocean. And it's just like, even the symbolism of that, and the fact that the 9-year-old hooked onto that and took that symbolism to be literal, and that her and her mother could shed their skin and escape into the ocean and they'd be fine together. I will update you guys a little bit later. I'm going to be reading this for most of today. Like, there's not much else I can do. We're hunkering down for the cyclone that's coming in, and I'm just looking after the dog at the moment and making sure she's okay. So I will be reading a lot of this today and hopefully updating you again later today. But so far it's so good. I will say, if you want to read this book, I would look up trigger warnings. Obviously there is a lot, just me mentioning an abusive father, there's a lot of trigger warnings in here. So I would read them before you go into this book. I'm really enjoying it, and as much as it's making me cry and it's making me feel a lot of things and it's breaking my heart, I genuinely am enjoying this book, and I'm really appreciating the symbolism throughout it. So I will update you guys a little bit later when I'm through this a little bit more. Okay, that hair's not going to behave itself. I'm ignoring it. Okay. So it has actually been about a week since I updated you guys last. I've had a lot of different things happening. So obviously last time I updated you, we had a cyclone coming in. That ended up, by the time it hit land, ended up not being a cyclone anymore, but it still did quite a bit of damage to the surrounding areas. So there was a little bit of anxiety around that when that was happening, but also I just got a migraine for a whole week where I could not see anything, and I do not have an audiobook version of this book to listen to, so unfortunately it got put on the back burner. But before that happened, I did get to chapter 10, page 108, and so that's a little bit further through there. You can see I'm not at halfway yet. I believe I'm about a third of the way through this book. I do still want to finish this book. I do still also want to finish this video, because I really liked making this video so far, and I do want to finish this book and really get into it. I think at the moment where I got up to in the book was She arrived at her grandmother's flower farm, and we have since met someone who I think might be a favourite character for me going forward. She's the main character is still very much a 9-year-old at this point. I don't know whether she grows up throughout the book. We'll see how that works out in the end of that. But right now she's still 9 years old. We haven't flashed forward any time at all. So I'm hoping I've just finished all the work I had left for today to do until I hear back from the client, that is. So I have time to sit down and read this today. Hopefully I can get through a fair chunk of it today. The migraine has not come back today, touch wood. Migraine has not come back today, so hopefully I will get much more reading time in and I'll update you guys soon. This also means that I may have more time to read this other book by her. So I'm hoping to get to this one as well. It is a fair bit thicker if I compare them. It's a decent bit thicker than the first one. And we'll see if I do get to it, but I'm hoping since I'm giving myself more time to do it now, this will be gotten to as well. So I am very excited to get back into reading. It's been too long. I will update you guys a little bit later once I'm further through this, hopefully before I finish it. I'm back. Okay, so I think the last time I updated you, I was talking about how I had a migraine for a week and I was having trouble seeing, and I had just started reading again. So that day I did read a little bit outside, as you saw, and I started to feel a lot better in the sun. I unfortunately have had a bit of the rough go of it the last 2 fortnights, so I did not get through more than the one book that I was reading. I was struggling between the migraine and stress and anxiety, and I just didn't get as much done as I wanted, but I still wanted to finish this video and I still wanted to finish this book, and I did that. So I finished this book 2 days ago. I wanted to sit with it a little bit and get my thoughts correct, because this book wrecked me. I was happy at the end. I loved the full circle ending, but it wrecked me. I was distraught. I was trying to type out, because every time I finish a book, I type out my thoughts on it so I don't forget it, so I can bring it up at the end of the month video. And just typing my thoughts on this book made me bawl my eyes out. So hopefully I will get through this without bawling my eyes out. Anyway, this book is so good. I ended up rating it 5 stars. Now, I thought a lot about it. I thought, what is going to make this a 5-star? Because yes, it did slow down at the end, and yes, I was a tiny bit frustrated with the main character at the end, but I understood exactly the decisions she was making and exactly what was happening. So basically, I think I last updated you, she was 9 years old. She flashed forward to 18, and then I think there was another flash forward to 27. I think it was 27. After 25, like late 20s. And that's where it sort of ended there. So she gets to a point where she finds herself questioning what she wants in life. And I really enjoyed our journey to that point. Excuse the sound effect in the background. That was Minty getting up. She's very dramatic. Anyway, so Firstly, before I get too carried away, I really enjoyed, I think I mentioned it before, I really enjoyed the Australian landscape and how it was described. So I grew up on the east coast of Australia. So the sugarcane farms and the beachfront and the smaller towns, I get all of that. I can see it in my head. I know exactly what it looks like. I know exactly what things she was describing in that, and I could visualize it so well. And when she went further into Australia, I could still visualize the landscape. I know exactly what it looks like. And even going to the middle of Australia, I've grown up with so much imagery, even though I haven't traveled to the Red Desert in the middle of Australia. I have so much imagery of that place, so I could picture it. And everyone's voices, she wrote them in a way that it was clear who was talking, and I could hear their voices in my head. I knew exactly what their accent sounds like. I knew exactly what all of them were, what their faces looked like almost as they were speaking. I had their faces in my head, which it could, when I watched the series, the Amazon Prime Video series, that could change. But at the moment, I have an image of all the characters in my head, and I'm remembering them. Like, it's been 2 days and I still have them vividly in my head. I really appreciated the symbolism throughout the book, the flowers, the fire. I have always found symbolism in fire myself. So reading that first paragraph of this book really hit me hard to start with, and really had me not wanting to let the book go. So I'll read you the first paragraph, because I think that it's one of those paragraphs that you'd pick it up in a store and go, yeah, I'm buying this book. So it says, in the weatherboard house at the end of the lane, 9-year-old Alice Hart sat at her desk by the window and dreamed of ways to set her father on fire. As soon as I read that, I was dedicated to this. I really love how I could understand all the characters and their decisions. So all the characters do make decisions that kind of frustrate you to a point, and you're trying to think, why did they make that decision? Why did they say that? Why did they do that? But at the end of the day, you understand their reasons for it, their past traumas that they're trying to keep themselves safe from and keep others safe from, and different things that they're trying not to tell people. I really understood it. I understood it, and I was here for it. And just having the symbolism of women empowerment and believing in yourself and finding a place and people that you can trust, but also trying to get past the trying to get past the boundaries of not wanting to share that trauma with anyone, not wanting anyone to feel your pain, but realizing that sometimes you need those people around you, was really beautiful. And I just really enjoyed it. I laughed with the main character. I cried with her. I was angry for her. I stormed into my partner's office and I was fuming at certain things that were happening. And then I don't know. I would fight with her. And the reason I say fight with her is I know that this main character would not want you to fight her battles for her. She would want to fight her own. So I would fight alongside her. And I just really loved it. It was really a perfect book for me. I was struggling getting through a book this month. So I've gotten halfway through the month and I've only just finished a book, and I really love that it's this book that I finished and that it was a 5-star read at the end of it, and I took my time and I appreciated it and I loved it. And I don't know, what a beautiful way to start the month off. The first 2 books that I had to DNF and had to let myself put down, whatever. This book saves me this week, and I absolutely learnt so much from it. And put it this way, it's made me want to go pick native flowers and press them into a book to collect. I love this so much. So I understand that this video was a little bit all over the place and it was a little bit slow, but I hope you guys still enjoyed it. And I did genuinely enjoy making it. I know I've gone through highs and lows this past fortnight, but at the end of it, I'm glad I came out with a really good book. And I can't believe this was sitting on my shelf for a year. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And I hope that you come back and spend some more time with me soon. If you do love these videos, subscribe, click the like button. It would be much appreciated for me. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.